Brought to you by Penguin.
Henry Chips Channon, The Diaries, 1918 to 38, Volume 1. By Chips Channon. Read by Tom Ward. Forward. Our grandfather's diaries have been part of our lives since we have been old enough to be aware of them. During the lifetime of our father, Paul Channon, Lord Kelvedon, we knew he was approached a number of times over the years about publishing them in full. However, we were also aware of the dilemma he faced, given the initial negative reaction to the heavily abridged edition that was published in 1967, and the fact that many people mentioned in the diaries, members of the wider family, friends and acquaintances, were still alive. The last time our father gave serious consideration to publishing a full version was in 2004, when he asked Kenneth Rose to review those diaries that had not been represented in the published abridgment, 1918 and 1923-28, and also the diaries for the years 1954 and 1958, which had turned up in a car boot sale a few years earlier. He also discussed the matter and Kenneth's review with us and with Robin Howard, who is our co-trustee for the diaries and who has acted as an advisor to the Guinness family for many years. He told Robin that he was still in two minds about what to do, but urged that if he had not arranged publication of the full diaries during his lifetime, Robin should encourage us to do so. The fact that a clause in our grandfather's will expressed the hope that the full diaries would be published 50 years after his death, in other words in 2018, added to the expectation that a full version would eventually see the light of day. We are therefore very pleased that we have been able to realize our grandfather's and our father's ambition. This would not have been possible, however, without the considerable help and advice of Robin, who, after we had held some abortive discussions with another editor in 2012, offered in late 2016 to take on the task of arranging the full transcription of the diaries. He has gone on to help us agree the appointment of our literary agent, editor, and publisher. The other person we are greatly indebted to is Professor Simon Heffer, who has brought to the task of editing the diaries his outstanding skills and knowledge, as well as great enthusiasm and application. It has been an enormous pleasure working with him. We would also like to acknowledge the help we have received from Dr. Oliver Cox and David Howell of Oxford University, who gave us advice on the handling of the manuscript diaries and other archive material, Alan Williams, who gave us advice on various legal agreements, our literary agent, Georgina Capel, Nigel Wilcoxon, publishing director at our publishers Penguin Random House, and Hugo Vickers, who kindly agreed to read the text of Volume 1 and who made some very helpful comments. In addition, we would like to acknowledge the contribution made by Helen Howard, who has assisted Robin by preparing copies of the manuscript diaries for use by the transcribers and Simon, and then checking and correcting the transcriptions. And we offer our thanks to the transcribers who worked on Volume 1. Ralph Lopez, Isabella Darby, Hasib Iqbal, and Gabriella Dawson. Finally, we would like to mention two important points about this new edition. Firstly, given the historical value of the diaries, we felt it vital that Simon should have full editorial control over what to include. Secondly, as Simon discusses more fully in his introduction, we wish to stress that because the diaries inevitably reflect the attitudes of the time they were written, they include some language and opinions that are now rightly considered to be outdated and offensive. They also contain sometimes critical or disparaging comments and disclosures about the parents and relatives of members of our wider family and friends. We want to make it clear that such material has been retained solely to ensure the editorial integrity of the diaries, and that its inclusion does not mean that we in any way condone it or wish to cause embarrassment or offence. Georgia Fanshawe and Henry Channon. Editor's Introduction. The publication in 1967 of a condensed and highly redacted edition of the diaries of Sir Henry Channon, the politician known since his time at Oxford in the early 1920s as Chips, caused a literary sensation. An unexpurgated edition was impossible, as many of those mentioned in the diaries were still alive. Indeed, Lady Honor Sveda, Channon's wife, whom he divorced in 1945, commented to Channon's close companion,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?